This is CBN NewsWatch.
It is Monday, February 17th, President's Day. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, more Americans return home after being quarantined for the coronavirus COVID-19 as a top U.S. health official issues a strong warning about the virus. While much of the focus is on the presidential election this year, another important political question is, will the Democrats' impeachment of President Donald Trump actually hurt Democratic candidates up for re-election to Congress? They are sanctuary cities springing up in Texas, but not for illegal immigrants. They're for the unborn. And coming off this Valentine's Day weekend, we hear from a pastor and his wife about how you can build a lasting relationship. All those stories and more are ahead in this edition of Newswatch. We want to begin this half hour with 2 charter flights carrying 340 Americans from a cruise ship that was quarantined in Japan for coronavirus. The second of the 2 flights landed in Texas this morning. At least 40 Americans who tested positive are staying in Japan. The Chinese government says the number of new cases has dropped to a 3-week low, with the death toll at 1,500 and more than 69,000 cases reported worldwide. But many fear the actual numbers are much, much higher. Dr. Anthony Fauci of the National Institutes of Health warned if leaders can't get control of the situation, it could become a pandemic.
Speaking, the WHO wouldn't be calling this a global pandemic, but it certainly is on the verge of that happening reasonably soon unless containment is more successful than it is right now.
The doctor argues it would be good if the U.S. Centers for Disease Control could get into China to help fight the virus. With the Nevada caucuses coming up this Saturday, the Democratic presidential candidates are campaigning in the western state. The candidate with possibly the most on the line is former Vice President Joe Biden. He's gone on the attack against frontrunner Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders, criticizing his health care plans.
He's been talking about health care, Medicare for all, universal health care for 35 years. Nothing's happened. I helped get past Obamacare.
Sanders and other Democratic candidates have another target, multi-billionaire and former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, although he isn't running in Nevada, but he has been rising in the polls.
But he thinks he can buy this election. Well, I got news from Mr. Bloomberg, and that is the American people are sick and tired of billionaires buying elections.
I can't beat him on the airwaves, but I can beat him on the debate stage.
The widely read website The Drudge Report said this weekend Bloomberg was considering Hillary Clinton as a running mate, a report that the Bloomberg campaign did not confirm, but they also did not deny. And as for this year's congressional races, did impeachment possibly set the stage for weakening some congressional Democrats in their bid for re-election? That's a big question as President Donald Trump moves to make that argument and create momentum for the Republicans this fall. Abigail Robertson brings us the story now from Washington.
Throughout the impeachment proceedings, Democrats made clear they wanted to target vulnerable Republicans by getting them on the record with tough votes. Now that President Trump's acquittal has led to record approval ratings, that strategy might be backfiring.
I can tell you, in all of our competitive Senate races, they're in better shape today than they were a month ago.
Not one of the GOP senators facing a tough re-election voted to impeach Trump. Republicans are also counting on impeachment fatigue to help them hang on to those Senate seats and possibly gain enough votes to flip back the majority in the House of Representatives.
I don't like Trump, but I didn't like the impeachment.
Republicans are specifically targeting districts like Congresswoman Elaine Luria's in Virginia, who was one of 7 freshman Democrats who wrote this Washington Post op-ed about impeachment, almost guaranteeing hearings would get a green light.
And I don't think we should have wasted the time doing the impeachment. We have more important business like passing budgets, which is the job of Congress.
Many voters CBN News spoke with questioned Luria's vote to convict Trump on both articles.
A lot of us didn't think that was appropriate. I don't know that I necessarily voted for Trump, but I also don't know that what was going on was something that a lot of other politicians aren't involved in as well.
But others support her decision.
Personally, I think impeachment should have went through.
Meanwhile, Democratic leadership stands by impeachment.
We have no regrets about standing up for truth and the Constitution in impeachment, but that has never slowed us down from our work.
The big question is, 8 months from now, will impeachment still be top of mind with 2020 voters? Reporting from Washington, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Turning now to Mississippi, facing some of the worst flooding in 37 years and where floodwaters have drenched the state's capital. The Pearl River is continuing to rise in and around the city of Jackson. And Governor Tate Reeves warned people there that it will be days yet before the area is out of the woods and the floodwaters begin to recede. And he declared a state of emergency.
We do not anticipate this situation to end anytime soon. If you have not evacuated yet, we urge you to do so.
I'm worried. I'm really worried, you know, and it's a lot to lose because, like I say, those people down there, I know they done lost a lot of stuff in their houses, you know. A couple of neighbors are already evacuated out, and I'm talking to my husband now if this is something that we might, you know, think about doing.
In one Jackson neighborhood, people paddled canoes, kayaks, and small fishing boats to check on their houses and to give a lift to other neighbors. Rains also postponed the Daytona 500 NASCAR race Sunday. The race is scheduled to run at 4 p.m. today. The delay came after President Trump's remarks. He served as the Grand Marshal this year.
The Daytona 500 is a legendary display of roaring engines, soaring spirits of the American skill, speed, and power that we've been hearing about for so many years. The tens of thousands of patriots here today have come for the fast cars and the world-class motorsports. But NASCAR fans never forget that no matter who wins the race, what matters most is God, family, and country.
The president was greeted by enthusiastic fans, with them waving 2020 Trump flags in the field. Coming up, you've heard of sanctuary cities for illegal immigrants, but sanctuaries of another kind are also appearing in small towns in Texas. They're sanctuaries for the unborn. We're going to tell you about them coming up right after this. Stay with us.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
They're popping up all over small Texas towns, sanctuary cities, but they're not for illegal immigrants. These cities are safe havens for the unborn. So what's behind this new trend, and how are pro-abortion forces pushing back against it? Caitlin Burke takes us to the West Texas, to find out.
Welcome to Gilmer, Texas. Population just over 5,000, home of the East Texas Jamboree Festival, and a safe haven for the unborn.
This is a pro-life community. We do not want abortion providers coming here or abortion clinics coming here.
In September, Gilmer joined a growing list of Texas town councils who have signed an ordinance banning abortion.
While many of the towns passing the bans don't currently have abortion clinics, Catherine Pitcher of Texas Right to Life says it's about being prepared for the future.
Even though abortions may not be happening in these towns which have already passed the ordinance, they are still looking towards a nation and a state that is post Roe versus Wade. So once Roe versus Wade is overturned, the most likely thing that's going to happen is the Supreme Court is going to send the question back to the states, which is where the question was before Roe versus Wade. There were states who had abortion legal and states who didn't. And so once that happens, we want Texas to be prepared.
If Roe overturned, these bans would then be enforceable. The ordinance being pitched to town councils across Texas declares abortion murder and bans the procedure within city limits. It does not penalize women who seek or undergo abortions.
So the criminal provisions of the ordinance, the reason that's a good deterrent currently for an abortion provider moving into city limits is the ordinance goes into effect immediately. And so what the city is saying is, past this date, we have the intent in the future to go back and prosecute criminally every abortion which has occurred since the ordinance passed.
We've been silent too long, and if we, under municipal law, can do what we're doing, let's do it. If at anything, you're just making a statement, making a stand, and if we can't do that, why are we in the battle in the first place?
As town councils across Texas consider the sanctuary city for the unborn ordinance, pro-life activists hope the local support will get the attention of the state.
So what we saw this last legislative session is that any effective change for the pro-life cause is going to come from the citizens. Our elected officials respond most to citizens using their voices.
There have been no legal challenges to the bans yet, but there has been pushback. Over the summer, the Austin City Council approved $150,000 to cover costs for women seeking abortions who live at least 100 miles from an abortion facility. And pro-choice groups NARAL and the Lilith Fund recently placed a large billboard outside of the first city to pass the abortion ban. It reads, "Abortion is freedom." Still, one by one, more cities are getting on board, enthusiastic to make a stand for the unborn.
We talk about giving human rights to Happy the elephant. That's an article in New York. Orangutan with human rights to begin new life in Florida. What does that say about the unborn child when we're going to give animals more rights to that unborn child? I personally cannot be a part of that without standing up and saying something.
Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Gilmer, Texas.
Still ahead, details on this story from Faithwire, what missionaries found visiting a prison in Haiti and how they hope to help. Stay with us.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Missionaries travel to Haiti and discover unbelievable conditions for prisoners there. I'm Mark Martin, talk with Faithwire's Dan Andros about what they found in the Caribbean island nation.
Dan, an article at Faithwire.com talks about a Christian missionary's report that exposes horrific conditions in a Haitian prison. What did the missionary discover?
Yeah, well, it's a friend of mine actually named Kate Bartow, who I became friends with after I went and reported in Haiti and followed her around doing some of the missions work that she was doing. She herself has a remarkable story. But she's been in Haiti for many, many years, and but hadn't gone to the prison. And so that was something she'd want to do. I guess authorities there don't allow a lot of visitors. And after seeing the conditions, the reason became pretty clear as to why they don't. And people are just living in some horrific conditions. I mean, we're talking 50 to 60 people crammed in tiny cells. And, there's a few hundred people at the prison, the particular prison she went to, I think around 400. And it's like 50, 60 people per room, as I said, and just, there's no air conditioning or anything like that. They're all in their just underwear because it's so hot in there. There's no ventilation. Food is scarce. It's already a poverty-stricken country, and so you can imagine the neglect that goes on inside of a prison.
What's behind this, Dan? I mean, why are conditions the way they are in that prison?
Well, I think most of it is due to, I don't think they want to intentionally, do this to people, but the resources are just such a lack of resources in the country already. I mean, people who are free have a hard time, finding food. So you can imagine the lowest on the totem pole are the people in prison. And so, and just the facilities themselves are so small that, to create a safe atmosphere where, there's no, chances of like riots or things like that, whatever typically goes on in a prison, they have to keep these people somewhat confined, but they have to use the space they have, and all they have are these, small prisons with rooms that are definitely inadequate. I mean, people are sleeping on concrete. There's only a bucket for a bathroom, and beyond what you could possibly imagine. But part of it's corruption too. There's a lot of injustices that go on as far as who goes into jail and who doesn't. But I think a lot of it just stems from, a lack of resources and the extreme poverty in the country.
What can our viewers do to help in this situation?
Yeah, well, Kate has set up a GoFundMe. Obviously, she has a heart for the people there. And again, that's something I witnessed firsthand when I followed her around for a couple of days. She was just going from place to place when she'd hear about somebody who had, a wound. I mean, we don't think about it here. Your kid gets a cut from playing on the playground. It's no big deal. You go get some bandages, you put some Neosporin on it, you're good to go. Well, a lot of people don't have access to even running water. So, a simple wound can turn into a big deal. And so she'd go around with just a basic medical bag of, bandages and things like that. And, she's praying with people, and she's, just really loving on these people well. And that's what I saw within a couple of days. So she has a GoFundMe that we've put up on our page, and it's linked in the article on faithwire.com. And you can donate. And she is trying to raise enough money just to get the prisoners one good meal a week. Because she said right now what they're eating is worse than dog food. She wouldn't even feed her dog the stuff that these people are eating. So her goal is to just get them one good meal a week. And I think that's about $2 a person. So that comes out to like $700 would get them one good meal a week. So she's starting there and starting simple. But you can do it through the GoFundMe page, which is linked in the article.
All right. Well, tell us what's coming up on Faith versus Culture tonight.
Yeah, we're talking a little bit about heart change versus behavior change. A lot of times when we're going about our daily life or teaching our kids, we just focus on the behavior and we don't get beneath the surface to the heart. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit tonight on Faith versus Culture.
All right, Dan Andros of Faithwire.com. Thank you, Dan, for your time and insights.
Thank you.
Now you can get much more of Faith versus Culture on Faithwire. It's this evening at 9:30 Eastern on the CBN News Channel. Coming up, on a more positive note, with marriages under assault in America, we're going to hear from one popular pastor and his wife about how to build and keep a relationship that lasts for decades. We're going to have that story when we come back. Please stay with us.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug of war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
It's what starts in Israel, then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
Check out the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
Well, this past weekend, the country celebrated Valentine's Day, a popular time for couples to get engaged or even get married. If that's you, or even if you've been married for years, we've got some great advice on ways to build an even stronger relationship. Here's Paul Strand.
Popular New York pastor Tim Keller and his wife Kathy co-wrote bestseller The Meaning of Marriage and a new devotional to go along with it. They help couples make their union a lifelong hit and avoid a bad marriage.
If you marry before the age of 18, if you have not finished high school and you're getting married, if you have a baby with the other person before you get married, those marriages characterized by those things are very, very, very fragile, and they break up at a high percentage.
They point out why divorce is the wrong turn on a bumpy road.
If you can't figure out how to fix it in your first marriage, you're going to be even worse the second and the third time around. So it's far better to stay in a marriage that has sharp edges, that has difficulties, and work them out.
And Tim has the stats proving his point.
2/3 of those marriages, if the people stay together, will say 5 years later that they're happy. Or if you stick with it, you'll find things are much better on the other side. If you break up now, you'll never know.
Another thing, a bad view of what marriage is can muck it up. For instance, if you treat it like a consumer product or a business deal.
And as long as you're both profiting, you have a relationship. But if one side feels like they're not profiting, well, then you can get out. And that's a me marriage or a consumer marriage in which you're relating to each other the way a vendor and a a customer would relate.
It's not profiting me anymore. I don't really get anything out of this. I'm going to look for somebody else. I'm going to, shop around.
As for things that could stop a good union from happening, well, don't let money get in your way. Some people put off marriage thinking they need a bunch in the bank first.
It's wrong to say that we have to be financially secure before we get married. Actually, marriage is one of the best ways to become financially secure.
Every statistic will tell you that married people have better financial resources and better health.
They save more, they spend more carefully when they are married because they are actually holding each other accountable.
Everything supports the idea that being married is better for you. So putting it off until things get better is actually counterintuitive.
Another secret to success is acknowledging there will be conflict and teaming up with someone also ready to accept that.
That was the best advice we got when we were getting marriage counseling, is marry someone with whom you want to solve problems, not someone who won't give you any.
Since this is a Valentine's marriage story, I'm joined by my wife of more than 3 decades, Susan.
The Kellers' biggest suggestion is this: accept with all your heart that marriage is a God-created covenant, like the forever commitment we have with Him.
In The Meaning of Marriage, the Kellers write, the marriage relationship is unique and is the most deeply covenantal relationship possible between two human beings.
In Christ, we're united to the Lord, and that's that idea of deep, deep, permanent, exclusive, eternal bond.
The Bible uses the word cleave.
It means literally to be bound to something, either tied to something, glued to something.
Kathy illustrated it.
Oh, that's right. Merged, almost. It's a very, very, very strong word.
The Kellers say the reward this covenant gives is great.
They write, the legal bond of marriage creates a space of security where we can open up and reveal our true selves. We can be vulnerable, no longer having to keep up facades. We don't have to keep selling ourselves. We can lay the last layer of our defenses down.
Covenant really gives you a stability and a security.
Because you know the other person has made this commitment to stay with you through thick and thin.
The Kellers say if you'll commit to forever,
you'll get there together. This is Susan
and Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
So sweet to see. As you heard Paul report, the Kellers recently released a book. It is called The Meaning of Marriage, a Couple's Devotional, and it is a companion to their book, The Meaning of Marriage. Both of them are available right now wherever books are sold. Well, right now it's time for your Monday motivation. I want to leave you with this thought today. The invisible God is more real than your visible problem. You can see Him through the eyes of faith. With that word, I encourage you to make today a marvelous Monday, and be sure to push to make it a wonderful week as well. You are equipped with everything you need to do just that. Well, that will do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel at any time. You can also find them online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us. That address is newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, as well as Instagram. We hope you'll join us again right here next time. Again, make it a marvelous Monday and a wonderful week. We'll see you tomorrow.